Hello folks, thanks for joining me today. What we're going to be looking at today is a little more solid edge with some surfacing, and we're also going to be breaking the surfaces into KeyShot to do a render. This is actually what we're going to be taking a look at today, doing a little October themed jack-o'-lantern. I'm going to draw this up in solid edge and bring this over to KeyShot to do the final render. So we'll get something very similar to this. Alright, so let's get you back into solid edge and let's talk about how I actually did this. What I did is actually used a dual environment situation where I started in synchronous. For those who are not familiar with synchronous and ordered, synchronous is a history-free way to design, which allows me to place sketches quite quickly, and then I can easily manipulate those. If I'm in an ordered environment, I'd have to create some reference planes, and there's several steps to do what I'm going to do. I can do it in either environment, but I'm going to do a combination, which makes this a lot more easy to manipulate. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create some curves in space. So we have some sketching tools, so I'm going to go ahead and lock to a reference plane here. I'm going to create maybe 4 or 5, about 5 sketches here to dictate the profile I'm looking for. And what the shape I'm looking for is actually we're going to be looking at trying to draw the pumpkin outside size. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and I'm just giving this a reference right now, just a kind of a reference sketch to scale it with, because I'm going to be drawing a curve to start, and that's about 10 inches long right here, so that should be good enough to be a reference with. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is just start coming over here and creating a curve. Alright, so you don't want to get too crazy on the curve, and I'll explain why here in a little while, because if you do and you try to hollow it out or try to do a thicken or thin on it, if it's too complex, it'll give you some grief. But I got a quick workaround for that to easily alleviate that. Alright, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to actually tweak this up a little better. Alright, so we have our surfacing menu bar here, or excuse me, our curves menu bar, where we can define whether we want to do a local edit or shape edit. Maybe I want to kind of take this profile, and you can see it modifies the entire profile and drags it around. Maybe I want to do a shape edit. That kind of allows me to take individual nodes and push and pull them around. So I'm just taking some of the little curve out of this guy right here. Alright, that will work. And I don't need this line anymore, so I kind of got an idea of how big I'm working with. Alright, so the next step is to make multiple ones of these. And it's just a simple process. Just to show you, I got a sketch here, and if I pick it from the Pathfinder, you notice I get a steering wheel. Alright, that's how synchronous behaves. If I pick the sketch, then we get the nodes to modify the sketch. Alright, so what we're looking for is actually the steering wheel, so I can go ahead and manipulate that and tie it to my center point. The reason why is I'm going to come over here and make some copies of that. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead in my top view so I can kind of see about how far I'm going, and I'm just going to do 90 degrees worth of sketches. That way I can do some patterns, and it's a lot quicker than trying to have to draw 16 or so sketches. Alright, so there's my first one. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my second one here, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and start tweaking some of these individual points. Just a matter of just keeping it, give it a little more surface variation, as opposed to having a constant lip or ridge that goes all the way around here. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do again. I'm going to go ahead and grab this sketch. Go ahead again, copy it. And I'm just going to again eyeball this in here. So I'm going to go ahead. That looks pretty good there. And again, I'll go ahead and just quickly modify this guy. Alright, and last step, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of these sketches. So I'm going to go ahead and grab both of these. So this should be enough. Final. I'm going to go to my top view. And go ahead and position these last 2 sketches. Again, I'm not going to be too precise, but that looks close enough for what we need to do here. Alright, so now I have my sketches. Now it's a matter of using some ordered surfacing tools. The reason why I want to do it in ordered is I want to be able to maintain those sketches. So I'm going to transition over to ordered. Now I'm going to actually use what they call Blue Surf technology. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do one. We'll walk you through the process on a couple of these. It's just a matter of basically what they call surfing from one face to another. And in 7, we now get these nice little end conditions, so we can go ahead and specify what type of condition we want here. We want some more curvature than that. We do get some control points to slide around, but what we're looking for is a tool called Insert Sketch. It's a quick way to go ahead and create extra geometry. So what I'm going to do is actually drag a sketch, and you'll see what's happening here. As I drag along that edge, I can stop. I'm just going to again eyeball it towards the middle of here. And now I have actually another sketch that I can pick and do a little modification to. Alright, so now you can see I can start dragging this out and giving a little more of a curved body shape to follow along the pattern lines here. There we go. And again, I can insert as many as I like along this face. Probably 2 or 3 would give you enough curvature all the way around. Even 1 does a pretty good job. Alright, so what I have is one that I already have kind of done up. Let me switch over to it. Alright, so what I just did is I went through and did 4 of these. And you can see the little curves I was referring to. Gives you a pretty good amount of curvature to that face. Looks pretty good. Alright, so let's go ahead and start mirroring these over. So there's no reason to have to create so many of these. You can if you want to get that detailed, but I'm just trying to do this for a quick, because if you're going to do a render, typically you're looking at one face. So, even if I made the back completely flat, it wouldn't make that much of a difference. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a mirror body here. Make sure alright, so I'm going to go ahead and mirror these to the other side, and I'm going to exclude this one, and you'll see why here in a moment. Hear about that reference point. Alright, and again, the reason I did that is because I didn't place these sketches all at 0, 90, 45, so they're all kind of odd, so I didn't want to have to make sure this could stitch together. So I'm just skipping that one that way and come back any given time, go right back into my surfacing tools, and let's go ahead and surf between that edge and the original sketch edge, and again do the same kind of process here. Say normal to section, and again the guide curve is going to give us the little more curvature to the space. And as you can see, I clicked it again. We can add more guide curves. So I can actually curve it in multiple directions, or again I can curve it, add multiple guide curve faces down the body here. I'm just going to go ahead and do the one. Go ahead and modify that guide sketch, or the inserted sketch. Here we go. As you can see, I kind of went a little crazy on that one. Again, doesn't matter. So at this point, I could now just do another body mirror to the other side and go ahead and continue on. And which I'll do. I actually have one created, and I'll show you what we go from here. All right. All right. So this is one that I've created that's pretty much fully surfaced with all the nice curves on the body. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and cap it off. Alright, I can show you a reason why I'm going to cap it off and hollow it out. Commands like thicken, it really depends, again, on how well you design the geometry. I can stitch this together, and I'll show you what I'm referring to. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that together so it's a single body. Then if I came over here and try to thicken this, which again, depending on the geometry, sometimes that will work, and you can thicken it the desired thickness that you want. I've already tried this one, and again, you can see some of these curved areas are pretty tight. So what happens when you try to thicken it, it has to heal itself, and if it's too complex of a surface, it just won't. So the workaround is to just go ahead and make this a solid, then just do a revolved cut on the inside. So that's what we're going to do in this situation. So, you know, again, if you get to this point and you can go ahead and try to thicken it, please go ahead and give that a shot. If not, go ahead and continue on with this next step. It's basically bounding some geometry off. We're actually going to cap this face off. So just a quick little, a simple window to grab all those edges and go ahead and make a cap geometry using bounded edge. And once that's done, we're going to come over here and stitch it again, but this time we're going to do a healing stitch. Alright, so in this case we have this surface and of course the design body, and since it's capped off now, it kind of understands, hey, once you do this, you want to go ahead and make it a solid, and yeah, this is the situation. We want to make this a solid. So we don't have any surfaces anymore. These are solids. These are still driven by these blue surfs, so if any given time I want to go back and tweak some of these edges, I can do that. But the next step is to go ahead and hollow it out, and just a regular old revolved cut is a scenario for this. So just going into doing an ordered cut, or an ordered revolved cut, I should say. A little tip in case you don't know some of the shortcuts in Solid Edge. I'm going to go ahead and use the line arc line command. Let me go ahead and deselect those. Alright, what I'm referring to is if I start with a line command, I can draw a line, hit A on my keyboard, and it immediately turns into an arc. So I can just go ahead and follow along the curve, make sure I don't attach it to too many edges here. Hit A again, then it continues on with another arc. Hit A again, and hit wrong button, hit A again. There we go. And you can do that as many times as you want. You know, you could probably put another arc and radius in here just to get that little tighter cut. Then it's just a matter of doing a revolve cut to get rid of the geometry. So let me go ahead and close this out. And I already got one done, so we can go ahead and skip that part and go to the. Just let me make sure. Oh, I do have that one done. Alright, so I did a hollowed out, so there's the revolve cut that I just did. Alright, so the next step is to actually get the face profile. So on this one, you know, I tried a couple different scenarios, and what I found easy enough to do is just to create a few of these in draft. So I just open up a draft template and start sketching, and I'm going to go ahead and try using this same one I did. Actually, you know, let's go ahead with this bottom one. It's a little different. So I'm just going to go ahead and say window, and just since this is very Windows based, commands like Control C to copy is really all I need, so that I can go ahead and switch back to my solid model. Let me go ahead and close this one out. Alright, so let's go ahead and cut the face out for this guy. So again, just a normal cut is going to work fine for this. This we're going to do on a parallel plane. Go ahead and kind of drag it out so you're in front of it. And obviously we did the Control C, so the inverse is Control V. Go ahead and paste it on here. And go ahead and kind of position it on this location you want. It looks okay. You know, I'm going to move that over just a hair, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my 2D move tool and just go ahead and do a quick reposition. There we go. Alright, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like. Go ahead and do a cut, or go ahead and position this. We can either use a snap point, so I can just use the center of the geometry. Let's see what this looks like. It looks pretty good. That'll work for now. Again, you can just go back and modify the sketch that we copied and pasted in here just to get more desired shape if you wanted to just edit that profile. Simple enough. Alright, and as you notice, I have on my desktop, there's a top to the jack-o'-lantern, so that's going to be the next step. So let me go ahead and save this guy. Alright, save. Alright, so what we're going to do is a multi-body design. So we're going to actually draw this in the context of this part. Make it a lot easier and a lot quicker. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you know what, let's say add body. So the first one we'll just call body. And the second part we'll just call top. Sounds good. Alright, say OK. Alright, so this main body turns kind of translucent, so you can see that it is actually not the design part now. So what we're going to do is actually kind of go ahead and create a little top here, and I'm going to create the top with a little stem on it. Alright, so I found the easiest way to do that is just basically draw the bottom of the stem, and we'll do a loft up to it. So let's look at the front view here, just to kind of position this in the height we want. So that should give us enough height there. That'll work. Now let's just draw the shape that we want. What I'm going to do is there we go. Put this over to the top view, so a little easier to see. I'm going to do a curve. This time we're going to switch over to what they call a closed curve. This way I can draw a closed loop without having to draw a curve and try to get the ends tangent. So these will automatically be tangent. Don't want to, again, make that get too far out of whack. If it gets too much curves in it, or too tight of curves, it's sometimes hard to blend back together. That looks good, so we'll go ahead and close that out. Alright. Back under the surface commands. And again, we're going to go ahead and do the blue surf. We're going to go ahead and surf from all these edges. Probably do a fence around there, but we've got most of them selected, so we'll just go ahead and finish that off. And we're going to surf to this guy right here. And we don't want it to necessarily look like a party hat. We want it to have more curvature to it. So these little guys here say normal to section. There we go. And let's see. A lot of different options here. Let's try maybe a tangent. Maybe that won't be too tight. The curve, yeah. So that would probably make it too tight of a curve. Some of these, not quite sure, but we'll give them a shot. So, yeah. Probably the tangent's going to be too tight, so let's go ahead and give it maybe a curvature continuous. Alright, let's go back to square one. Natural, and you know, these control points. Let's go ahead and just manipulate this top control point, and that will give us probably what we're looking for here. So let's say 2. Maybe 2 looks good, but that sketch is a little too high for what I like. Alright, so that's the good thing about doing this in order. Again, this sketch is maintained. That's why you do servicing in order. I'll just come back to this sketch and edit definition. Let's go ahead and bump that down to maybe 4.5. Actually, probably more than that. More around 5. That will work. Alright, now let's go ahead and create the stem for this guy. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and create another curve, or sketch I should say, excuse me. And we'll just do it on the center of this, so we'll just be looking at the front plane here. Up. Sorry about that. Here we go. I'll just do a wrong arc. My apologies. Give me a 3-point arc here is what I was looking for. A little too big, so let's go ahead and drag that down. There you have it. And go ahead and put a relationship on there, so I'll make sure that comes off perpendicular. That'll work. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and create a little stem. Got one more thing to do. We're going to create another sketch. We want to create this same sketch, but a little bit smaller. And we're going to do this by tearing off a sketch. I'm going to go ahead and use a plane normal to curve to tear this off. I'm going to go ahead and say, go ahead and grab that sketch. I should have actually told it to be non-associative, so it doesn't actually put any relationships because it wants to keep them the same. So I'll just say, go ahead and make them non-associative. And what we're going to go ahead and do is edit this profile. So I want to go in here and go ahead and scale it. So I want to go ahead and do a scale. There, that'll work. Alright, now that we have that done, go ahead and close that back. And one final tool we're going to use, we're going to go into surfacing. This time, instead of blue surf, we're just going to do the good old-fashioned sweep. We're going to actually do multiple cross-sections of path. So here is my path. Go ahead and create that, and then just picking the couple cross-sections here. There we have our stem, and last step, we used this before to cap off the top. We'll do a bounded edge on this guy right here. And there we have it. Alright, so let's go ahead and make this a solid. I'm going to turn off the design body. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to turn off the design body and leave this on. I'm going to cap the bottom off. And the last thing to do to get this to a usable form is I'm going to go ahead and do the heel and stitch again on this guy like we did on the main body. And I'm going to heel and stitch these. Alright, so that's a solid body now, and let me go ahead and activate this guy. So we got the design body, and we've got sorry, didn't mean to do that. I wanted to actually oops, I screwed that up. Sorry. Turn that back to sorry. I toggled. I was trying to make that an active body a while ago, and I turned it into the unfortunately I turned it over to a construction body. Alright, so the final step on this is to get this prepared for the render. Simple step is adding some colors to it. Alright, so what we're going to do is make some pumpkin colors. And let's go with orange. Do that face right there. Then we'll just doesn't really make a difference right now, and you'll see what's going on here. I'm just going to make that purple and go ahead and just make that purple. There we go. And let's go activate this other body. There we go. I think I duplicated a body. There we have it. Not sure how that happened. Alright, view, part painter. Again, let's go ahead and say orange. And we'll just go body. And because all we're going to do on this one is change the inside color, so I'm going to go ahead and do the inside with white, and I'll say feature, pick the revolved cut, and pick the straight cut. There we go. So the body is white. Done. Alright, so let's go ahead and publish this. Alright, so we have our parts ready to go into KeyShot, so we're going to say multi-body publish. Alright, so here's the bodies it's going to publish. We can get rid of that extra body once we do this. Save bodies, or save files, excuse me. Alright, assembly is almost done. Alright, let's open this assembly up. So here's all my parts that I just saved. And we're going to go ahead and just drop these bodies. It doesn't really make a difference in this situation. I'll go ahead and just break that link. Let's see. Yeah, that's the body I don't really care about, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that out of here. There we go. And a couple of other things I was going to do is add some lights to this. And in KeyShot, it's very simple to add lights to your geometry. So just a quick creating a oops, let me go ahead and go to the right folder here. There we go. So I'm going to use an occurrence property to position that. I drew this at 0, 0, 0, so I'm going to go ahead and just say, you know what, don't need to put relationship here, so I'm just going to say go to 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0. Update that. That looks good. So that's on the inside now, so let's go ahead and create another one. I'm going to create a second light source. I'm just going to go ahead and say copy and drag this guy out of here. That'll work for now. And save my assembly. So once we're saved, KeyShot is the thing that we're going to be using to render with. So I'm just going to go say render with KeyShot. Just come over and get set up here for a second. Get into my solid edge here. Alright, so there's our parts. So again, we have our orange and different colors, and now's the time to show you why we did some of these things. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to go and do is, as you can see, it is orange, but it's just a smooth orange, and of course pumpkins are not smooth by nature. So this would require texture, and what we're going to go ahead and use is just a cast iron texture. I'm going to go ahead and just drag that on here. But I'm not going to apply it as color, I just want to go ahead and apply it as a bump map. So that, and we'll go ahead and do the same on the top. There's a bump map. And just double click it. We're going to actually go in there and modify this bump. And we're going to come over here and actually make this actually a little bit larger. We'll make it 1.5, and on the bump height scale, we'll go ahead and make that 2.5. There you go. So now you can immediately see we start getting some bumpy graininess to the geometry. So now let's go ahead and do some materials. Alright, so we're already in the wood, so any of these will actually wood. Old wood planks, that works pretty much fine for the handle, or for the handle, excuse me, for the stem. You can maybe do. Again, the reason why I can actually put these on different faces is I added all these different face colors in Solid Edge, so it behaves the same way in KeyShot. So the next thing is add some plastic. I'm going to add a orange plastic on the inside. kind of like this soft rust, kind of looks like a pumpkin-y kind of meat material. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag that to the inside. And there we have it. So that's set up. Alright, so what we want to do is add some texture and colors to the light. So I'm going to go to the project and expand this out so I can grab the lights. Alright, so let's go ahead and just grab one of these and just go ahead and just do actually a we'll just go ahead and actually add a color to it. Let me hide the body. And lights, and we want to do a warm area light, 100 watt. Alright, and that's going to be incredibly bright. So we're going to go ahead and dim that down a bit. But what I want to do is actually separate these two light colors because they both have 100 watt light. And the one on the inside I'm going to make green, and the one on the outside I'm going to make a yellowish color. So the material, I'm going to just simply right click and say unlink material. That way I can go in on this guy, and first thing I'm going to go and do is change the color. Make this more of a kind of a lime green. So okay, and we definitely don't want 100 watts. Let's bump this down to probably around 5 watts. And on this outside, again, let's bump this down to maybe 5. Actually, let's go with a little lower. Inside one, let's make that 2. And on the outside one, let's actually add a little warmth to it. Let's make it a little more of a orange color. And that looks good. So let's turn on the geometry. And now let's go ahead and position this. Let's go ahead and add our type of environment we want to work with. We want to work with, we want to turn off all the lights, alright, because we actually create our own 2 lights, so we're going to just say all black. Alright, let's see. Also in the environments, we want to say ground reflections. So we're picking up some of that pumpkin on the ground, and as soon as I zoom up, you notice that we lose that extra light, so that's kind of why I drug it out there. You know, if you don't like the position of it, you know, this time we can go ahead and start moving this light around. So let's zoom in and show you what I'm talking about. Again, we can grab this light, not that one, this one, say position, do a move tool, and we can kind of drag this up and higher and lower. You know, kind of a lower light kind of gives you more of a eerily spookier kind of scene, so we'll just go ahead and lower that down. It's right about there. That'll work. And again, this inside light's still a little bright, so I'm going to go and maybe bump that down to go ahead and accept that before I do that. And there we go. Better. Alright, so now that we have that set up, what I did to get the camera, so let me go back to my desktop, trying to get that kind of eerie, kind of gloomy look in the back, I did a camera setting. So we went and did a view, actually made it a little more perspective, so give a little more stretch to it. We bump up the perspective. And the last thing I did is depth of field. You can there go ahead and select the focal point, and let's kind of pick the nose area right here. And do some effects with the bloom intensity, so you get this kind of and bump up the f-stop a little bit. Bring that into not that much, bring a little sharpness, and there you have it. That's about it. So the last step is go ahead and close that out, and the final thing to do is go ahead and hit render. And of course I won't bore you with this because this does take a while, but the final render we get. Actually did this on an alpha channel, so we can have a white background or pretty much any background you want. So this is the final KeyShot render that I did, and again, hope you enjoyed some of the surfacing in Solid Edge. It's a little more fun than some of the other CAD stuff I've shown in the past, but you can do some pretty cool stuff with Solid Edge and KeyShot. So thanks again for taking a look, and hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call over at Swoosh Technologies, and we'll be more than happy to discuss Solid Edge and KeyShot with you. All right, thanks again, folks.